Think about the way that Israel retaliated to Iran the first time. Think about the way that Israel is retaliating to Iran now. Now imagine what Israel is doing to Gaza. There is a severity gap in the way that Israel retaliates against people who are defenseless. 5 to 7 explosions reported in Tehran. Planes are avoiding Tehran. Confirmed explosions heard in Tehran. Waiting for more information, but 2 planes seem to be avoiding it. Wait, what the Evidence of potential war crimes collected by British spy planes operating over Gaza could be handed to the International Criminal Court, the UK has confirmed. Ain't no way. That would be insane. I don't think so. World War III or weapons embargo to Israel. Which one's coming first? I'm a firm believer that World War III is already happening. I'm in the World War III is already kind of happening in through proxy battles. Even sin. Apparently reports of blasts in Damascus as well. Seems to me like a classic case of Israel doing Israel stuff. Elit News update from Iran International English. Multiple explosions have been heard in different parts of Tehran, according to IRGC affiliated outlets and reports from social media users. Is Israel really going to completely nuke the world economy like this? Holy shit. I mean, I think that they have speculated what kind of targets that are appropriate to strike, what kind of targets America has allowed them to strike, and they're striking them. I don't think that they'll hit. I mean, if they hit oil refineries, it's crazy. Al Jazeera, unofficial Iranian websites, 3 consecutive explosions heard west of Iran's capital, Tehran. Like, I think they'll hit like it. I suspect that this will resemble. I suspect that this will resemble what kind of limited retaliatory strikes that Israel has engaged in so far. Like, it'll obviously be larger, but it will mostly be relegated to military targets. I don't think that America will allow Israel to hit oil or nuclear like oil refineries or nuclear power plants. Not that Israel cares, but oil facilities or civilian targets. No. That's not. Israel doesn't care about hitting civilian targets. You might as well put a crosshair if something is a civilian target. The real thing here is point of contention here is like Iran has said that their retaliation will be swift if any targets are struck that is of like energy related. If any energy related targets are struck, then they'll retaliate by lighting the entire region's oil production on fire. America knows this. America does not want this. America has, by way of, you say allow like we have any control. Well, we do have control, actually. You should recognize that we have a tremendous amount of control, as a matter of fact. You should never forget that we control everything that Israel does. Why do I say this? It might not seem like it. It might seem like Benjamin Netanyahu is dog walking Biden on a daily basis, and to some degree he is. Notice how Israel did not retaliate against Iran for the past month almost at this point, after Iran struck inside of the boundary, 32 hits on target on one of the 3 different targets that they had that they openly communicated they were going to hit. That was a massive you to Israel. That was a major cause for concern for Israel. Why didn't they strike back immediately and lit the entire oil refineries on fire as they said they would? Well, the reason why they didn't do that is because, like I said, Iran said they would retaliate against Saudi and other Gulf area oil refineries and respond in kind, which would completely destroy the global economy. America kept telling them that's a no-no. Ronan Bergman, New York Times, Yediot Ahronot author, reporter, says the Israeli attack on Iran has begun. Allowing the oil prices to go up before the election is a big no-no. It's not that, guys. If Iran retaliated by lighting the oil refineries on fire in the region, that would go so much further than just this. It would make this election look funny in comparison to the devastation it would have on the global market in its entirety. Like, it would globalize this conflict overnight. It's not like, I don't think the nothing ever happens people would, for the first time ever, realize that, oh, maybe things are happening all the time It's just that this time it's happening to us. Islamic Republic of Iran state media confirmed reports that explosions all around Tehran have been heard. One of my favorite family members in Iran heard very loud explosions, but they haven't figured out where they have occurred. All right, we only have, this is the only reporting we have on it so far. At least 5 explosions heard in Iran's capital and nearby Karachi city, semi-official Iranian media say. I suspect that they are hitting like military targets. Iranian media channels report that at least 10 explosions have been reported in the western region of Tehran. Air raid sirens have gone off in the consulate complex in Hawler or Erbil amidst reports of explosions around the capital of Iraq and Baghdad. I find it strange. Iran has showed it can overwhelm Israel's missile defense system and can hit targets of their choosing. I think that a lot of these like tit for tat attacks, when you're Iraq, sorry, not Iran. They're hitting Iraq, they're hitting Damascus, and they're hitting Iran, which is the Iraq and Syria part of this. It makes sense. It's the that they always hit those areas. There's IRGC presence there. They always pummel. That's why they say they're in a 7-front war. Israel has started their attack against Iran. Fox News can confirm the strikes are meant to send a message of deterrence. I'm told there was communication with the Americans ahead of the strikes over the past several days. Yeah. So this to me signals that they're not going to go above and beyond. But maybe I'm wrong. You know, you always need to allow Israel to surprise you. You know what I mean? There's always a little bit of an opportunity for Israel to do some shit. A picture from Tehran showing Tehran how it looks like when a missile hits this target. Dude, these people are so delusional, man. I genuinely don't understand like how they're so stupid. Like they just don't understand missiles that were able to strike Israeli military bases are more than capable of striking Israeli civilian buildings. Are you being censored? You seem like you're being held back. Wait, what? Why are you guys fantasizing about like what I'm like potentially not saying? Are you okay? All right, here's our boy Trey.
Against Iranian territory, this strike, according to this senior official, was meant to send a message of deterrence to the Iranian regime, and there was communication with the Americans beforehand as the region waits to see what will come next. But again, the latest information that we have, multiple explosions have been reported in and around the Iranian capital of Tehran, as well as in the northern part of Iran. We don't know the exact targets, but I am told that some of the targets were taken off the list following American pressure. There have been a lot of conversations taking place with top Israeli leadership here in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, talking with their counterparts in Washington to determine how to deter the Iranians but not drag the region into a broader war. Now, one other important note here. An Israeli official tells me the expectation is that following the strikes tonight against Iran, there will be some sort of response. Of course, they don't know what that response will look like, but Israeli air defense remains on high alert across this country. There is an understanding that Iran has the ability to target Israel with a variety of ballistic missiles, as they did earlier this month when they launched 180 of them toward this country. And so Israel's top defense systems, including the Arrow 2 and 3 systems, do remain on alert to be able to protect.
Yeah, they need the THAAD too, bro. The explosion in Tehran came from the western part of the city where the Revolutionary Guard has headquarters, according to multiple residents in Tehran, including half a dozen Iranian journalists. This is from the New York Times. Okay. So yeah, they're striking like military targets. This is tit for tat, for the record. So far, this is what Iran did to Israel. Israel is doing back to Iran. And I suspect it will probably stay at that level, but I don't know. Like I said, there's always room for Israel to just like go above and beyond. Is the THAAD supposed to be up and running now? No, it's not. It's not. I don't think it's running yet, but it doesn't really fucking matter anyway. I feel like the THAAD also has the capacity to be overwhelmed with like extra missiles. Netanyahu said they would delay the reaction until after the election to avoid accusations of election interference. So why didn't they delay it?
Doing with these strikes tonight against Iran, I am told. And again, we don't know exactly how widespread the strikes will be, and we don't know the exact target.
I live in a dorm in the west of Tehran. We heard about 5 explosions very clearly that even shook the windows a little bit. This was about 25 minutes ago. Some residents who saw the smoke said it might be some IRGC targets that were meant for producing missiles, not official. Oh, THAAD is already operational? Damn, they got that quick. I thought it would take like a month. Like the reporting I read on it was that it would it would take some time for it to be fully operational. That they just like, it's not like you just send the soldiers in with the systems and then boom. Anyway.
And the extent at which they would describe the coordination was simply communication with the Americans. There's an understanding that they don't want to send a message that the United States is directly involved in any of these attacks, despite the fact that behind the scenes they may be sharing things like intelligence. And we do know, of course, that the Americans have helped the Israelis to prepare for possible Iranian retaliation to the strikes that are currently taking place, Jason, as we speak. Remember earlier in the week, and it really all sort of blends together for the officials here who are continuing to fight a war, not just on the ground inside Gaza against Iranian proxies like Hamas and Islamic Jihad, but also against Iran's largest proxy in the region, Hezbollah, in southern Lebanon. And the Americans deployed the THAAD anti-ballistic missile system to Israel. And there are less than 10 of these systems deployed around the world. So the fact that one was sent to Israel with American boots on the ground to make sure the system was manned and working was an indication that the Americans understood, like the Israelis, that Iran would likely respond in some capacity to this counterattack following the ballistic missile attack earlier this month. But remember, this was not the first Iranian attack that took place this year. Back in April, the Iranians launched an attack after the Israelis targeted the building next to their embassy in Damascus, Syria. And remember, when we look at the reason that the Iranians say they launched the ballistic missiles against Israel earlier this month, they said it was in response to the killing of Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, Iran's largest proxy across the Middle East, a group that has been directly involved in conflict with Israel since October 8th. We know that the Iranians say it was not just in response to the death of Nasrallah, the strike that took place in the Lebanese capital of Beirut, but also the explosion that killed the leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, in Tehran over the summer. It was an embarrassment for the Iranians to have a top proxy leader killed at a guest house in the Iranian capital of Tehran while he was attending the inauguration ceremonies for Masoud Pezeshkian, the new Iranian president. And so this was a joint response from the Iranians earlier this month, and that 180 ballistic missile attack that soared through the skies of this country. We were in the northern city of Haifa when that attack took place, and you could see some of these missiles coming in over Syria, and some of them, actually, we understand more than half of them hit Israel. They were not intercepted, and you saw the craters across this country near to military bases and actually targeting military bases where Israeli jets take off from. And the Israelis saw this as, again, crossing a red line for the Iranian regime. And so that is why we had been told in the briefings and the conversations that we've been having with top officials here in Tel Aviv that this was not a question of if Israel would respond, but rather when and where. And as we understand tonight, Israel is striking Iran. Multiple explosions have been reported in and around the Iranian capital of Tehran, as well as further north. And we do not know at this hour what exactly is being targeted, but Iranian state media is also confirming that these explosions have taken place. Again, an indication Israel has started their attack against Iran. Jason?
Trey, thank you. Stay safe. I'll let you reach out to your contacts and your reporting. But now let's go to Fox News correspondent Greg Palcott, who's joining us live. Greg, tell us, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? And how unprecedented is this attack, a response by Israel onto Iran's territory?
Well, it's quite unprecedented, Jason. Iran and Israel, up until this year, have kept apart. That is, they haven't staged any direct back and forth attacks. But as we've seen, for example, in the early part of October, you did have Iran launch a massive ballistic missile attack, a barrage on Israel. Remember, that was October 1st. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting for Israel to do something. We heard a report tonight from one of the top military analysts. He said that Israel will be acting in the next few days, and it clearly seems like they have done that. Just going back over the reports we're getting, mainly from the Iranian media, is that they haven't stepped around the main target. There apparently are explosions in Tehran. That's the capital of Iran. That's exactly what would be sending the greatest signal to Iran that Israel is serious. Also, a town called Karaj has been hit as well. They're hearing multiple strong explosions. Jason, we're also getting indications that this could be an even broader, wider attack than just Iran. There are new reports that explosions have been heard in the Damascus countryside and central region. Remember, that is Syria, a very close ally of Iran and a conduit for both military supplies and soldiers coming from Iran through Syria into Lebanon and Israel. We've been tracking today, Jason, the incredible activity that the IDF has kept up on two of its most important fronts. Near where we are, we're just about 17 miles away from the Lebanon border. We've been watching a lot of back and forth between Israel and Lebanon. We've been watching right behind us a lot of rockets coming over from Hezbollah, and just about 10 minutes ago we actually heard a lot of Israeli jets overhead as well. So they were keeping that front very active, and they were also keeping the front down south with Hamas and Gaza active as well, and just like nothing else was happening.
There's nothing new coming out of these reports that we haven't known about already, though. That's the problem.
In the Iranian capital, according to Iran's semi-official farce.
We already know all that, man.
Now,
what's
there's
next?
a lot that we still don't know at this stage, even as we are starting to get dramatic images of plumes of smoke emerging from Tehran. We don't yet know exactly what the targets were of this Iranian strike. But make no mistake, already just the fact that these explosions were reported in the Iranian capital, this is an indication that Israel is carrying out a more severe retaliation than the one it did for Iran's initial attack against Israel back in April.
It's not deterrence, it's escalation. No, I think that depending on how Israel strikes back is either you can either consider it deterrence or escalation depending on how Israel strikes back. Because, like, obviously Israel still started it, but with respect to Iran specifically. But having said that, remember when Iran did the loiter munitions and like some of the ballistic missiles that they sent over, like drones that they sent over, and then Israel retaliated with like a light tap? That was basically Israel being like, we get the last say. We get the last say here. We get the final say here. And everybody understood the message. Everybody understood the message that like Israel just wanted to save face to a certain degree without like greatly escalating. But then they turned around and assassinated Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran, which like after some time had passed was a severe escalation. And then Iran was like, we reserve the right to retaliate. And they did. And that was also a higher strike than what they had done prior. Now, Israel still, if they retaliate by like striking military bases in Tehran, are keeping it relatively. They are keeping it relatively calm. If they hit nuclear facilities, if they hit oil refineries, then they're not keeping it calm at all, and they're actually completely outside of America's threshold. I would say America 1,000,000%. In my opinion, does not want Israel to strike the oil refineries. They do not want Israel to strike anything but just like military targets. The chatter is intensifying once more that an Israeli... So Trita Parsi is pretty good. Quincy Institute guy. Very smart guy. Let's see his immediate analysis in this. The chatter is intensifying once more that an Israeli attack on Iran with significant U.S. involvement and support is imminent, potentially within the next few hours. While the current chatter about a potential Israeli attack on Iran is at a high, it is important to remember that similar levels of speculation have been reached before any actual attack. The uncertainty of these pending attacks, whether they were real or thwarted by various events, including the recent Pentagon leak, adds to the risk of miscalculation. However, one factor makes it difficult to dismiss the current chatter. The window for Netanyahu to strike is closing. The window was never up to the U.S. elections. Rather, it would close several days before the elections. The window is then further shortened by another factor, indications that the election are Trump's to lose. If Trump is heading towards a victory and Netanyahu strikes only days before the elections, Israel's intervention will not be seen as tilting the elections in Trump's favor. He was winning anyway. but rather it will be seen as an effort to put handcuffs on Trump by forcing him to support an escalation in the region that very likely will drag the U.S. into the war, presumably against Trump's wishes. Thus, a move that can be seen as pro-Trump 10 days before the elections may turn anti-Trump 5 days before the election. Add that to the difficulties Israel's facing in Lebanon, and pressure increases further to strike sooner rather than later. I think this is the most significant aspect of this analysis. I think it's because they're getting shellacked in Lebanon. Like when they aren't busy blowing up Beirut suburbs and just like attacking hospitals, killing Doctors Without Borders, medical personnel, or like UN facilities, they're getting absolutely whipped around by Hezbollah. They have all the smoke for journalists, children, hospital patients, hospital infrastructure, banks, right? All this but Hezbollah is just melting their So whenever, as things stand, whenever Israel gets destroyed in any sort of real military conflict, what do? They take it out on random civilians, or they try to escalate. Israel not doing a great job in Gaza. What do they have to do? People are starting to get worried. People are starting to yell about hostages. What does Israel do? They invade Lebanon. They start blowing up Lebanon. Israel is not doing a great job with Hezbollah in South Lebanon. What do? They have a short window to retaliate to. They have a short window to retaliate to Iran, opening up a new front. That is what's happening here. I think they're flailing, so they have a shorter window. With THAAD missile defense system in place and operational in Israel, Biden has facilitated Israel's war of choice. By putting U.S. soldiers in an active war zone, Biden is also gambling with American lives in a manner that may leave scores killed from retaliation by Iran or Iraqi militias. This would be the apex of Biden's grotesque mismanagement of Netanyahu and Israel at every turn. Yeah, it's a classic Vietnam-style situation almost. I mean, not entirely, but like, we have our military trainers there. Military trainers explode in a helicopter. Boom. All of a sudden, you're killing America's soldiers. What do? We got to go to war. So at every turn, Biden has supported Israeli escalation and rushing to protect Israel from its own foolish expansion of the war. This is giving Netanyahu every reason to escalate matters further, including dragging the U.S. into the war, and few, if any, reasons not to. As a result of Biden's blind deference to Netanyahu, more U.S. soldiers may soon be killed in a war they did not fight for America and that Congress never authorized. The attack on Iran has to happen. They just got to do it. Now, how Israel attacks Iran in retaliation is what is significant here. It is officially started. We shall see in the upcoming hours what the actual damage is. We'll make an assessment. My speculation, speculation alert, is that no oil refineries or nuclear facilities are being hit, and that they're simply hitting a missile production facility or like IRGC barracks, or they're targeting military infrastructure. That's what I'm assuming. And the only reason for that is not because of some humanitarian concern. Make no mistake. There is no humanitarian concern. There is no bottom to the violence that America will subject the rest of the world to. It's simply a material concern that the United States of America has in terms of if oil refineries in Iran were struck. Iran has said that they would retaliate by lighting the entire Gulf oil production, which is what, like, the majority, if not almost 2/3 of the oil production of the entire planet. They will light it on fire. They will render it useless. This would destroy the global economy. China doesn't want that. America doesn't want. Nobody wants that, right? Nobody. Israel might want it. There might be some horn dogs in there that think like, nah, we'll light it on fire. We'll see the entire nation burn. That's going to be great. It's going to be sick. But like, that's where the big dog kicks in. You have to remember that. You have to remember who the big dog is here in moments like this. Because the reality is, if Israel ran America in the way that many people presented, and in some ways America does let Israel get ahead, certainly. But if Israel supposedly ran America, they would be doing just that. Breaking from Elint News, our valued chatter, Elint News. Hasanabi head in the building. Now that things are happening once again, he's coming in IDF spokesman, the IDF is now precisely attacking military targets in Iran in response to the ongoing attacks of the regime in Iran against the state of Israel in recent months in accordance with the guidance of the political echelon, the family atomics. So yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, it seems like that's what's happening. Israel will go, oh my God, we destroyed their missile production facilities. We own them super hard. Iran will probably go, oh, this was but a light breeze for us. It's not dissimilar to what happened with if all things go according to plan, if all things go according to the expected outcome, like the path of least resistance, the path of like the most minor escalation shit, then it'll be the reverse of what it'll be the reverse of what Israel presented when Iran struck its bases. Now there are people saying Israel has actually hit a civilian power plant in Tehran. If that's the case, then that might be considered an escalation beyond what was expected. But we shall see. The IDF statement on strikes tonight. Iran specifies military targets have been hit, i.e. not nuclear sites or oil terminals or leaders of the regime. So how does this affect the potential Iranian response now? A rehash of their last attack? This is my favorite type of commentary. It's so sad that so many people in Iran are actually cheering for Israel out of their hatred for the government. Yeah, people in Iran love getting bombed. Like, they're big fans of getting bombed. Yeah. Famously, when a foreign nation blows them up, people in the country don't become more reactionary and more reliant on a government they might hate. I'm Turkish. What would I know about such a thing? Like, I don't know, a coup d'etat that failed, that literally killed 250 civilians in my country, that then gave a lifeline to a despotic, tyrannical leadership that was able to take advantage of said failed coup d'etat, that they were able to change the constitution of the country by way of referendum. What would I know about that sort of thing? About like what happens when foreign interference in your country occurs? Anyway, that's famously what has happened in Lebanon. That's also famously what has happened in Gaza. That's famously what happened in Iraq. And also famously what happened in Afghanistan. Everyone always celebrates when Israel or America bombs them because they're like, these are liberatory bombs. These are bombs of emancipation. That's how it goes. Yeah, why didn't 9/11 make America overthrow the government? You know, a lot of Americans had discontent for their administration. And yet, seemingly enough, 9/11 didn't cause Americans to overthrow their government with a violent coup d'etat. How come the exact opposite happened? I wonder. It almost feels like the most consistent thing of all time. It's also especially funny when talking about Iran, the Ayatollah. Are they popular? Well, they're popular enough, but they're definitely unpopular among dissidents, significantly so. But how did we get here? How did they get an Ayatollah? A question that one must ask themselves. Just a little bit of a scratching of the surface on Iranian history will help you arrive at that conclusion that like destabilizing a country oftentimes does not work in your favor. In response to months, here's my goat, Daniel Hagari.
In response to months of continuous attacks from the regime in Iran against the state of Israel,
Daniel,
right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran. The regime in Iran and its proxies in the region have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts, including direct attacks from Iranian soil. Like every other sovereign country in the world, the state of Israel has the right and
Does every country have a right to defend itself? Do all peoples have an equal right to defend themselves? Because I don't think you feel that way, especially when it comes to Lebanon or when it comes down to Palestinians in their need for sovereignty and emancipation. All I'm saying is I don't think you believe this. I feel like you're lying. Daniel, you could probably hear me all the way from Tel Aviv, okay? I suspect that you don't really believe what you're saying. I'm just,
the duty to respond. Our defensive and offensive capabilities are fully mobilized. We will do whatever necessary to defend the state of Israel and the people of Israel. In response,
even the ICC says Israel has no right because they aren't defending themselves. They're occupying another country. No, I know, but once again, it don't matter. It don't matter at all. Reports say that Iranian fighter jets have taken off and based in the west of the country. I don't know about all that. Speak milder, you're exploding his eardrums. It is now confirmed that Israel targeted a power station in Iran. Still a tame response considering Israeli history. Reported image of against the IRGC facility in Iran reports that attacks have also hit an aerospace manufacturing plant related to the country's drone program. As an Iranian, I got to tell you, there are psycho liberals who are so Western cooked you would not believe it. There's not so significant number who cheer on anything that the U.S. or Israel do with a shred of irony. They're extremely anti-Palestinian as well, which has been so difficult to see in the past year. No, of course there are, dude. What do you mean? Of course. That doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like, yeah. My point is, the broadest subsects of society, no matter how much they hate the government, will change their tune when their houses are being blown up. I know that. I know that from my own country. I know that from Turkey. Like, I get it. Historically speaking, and especially for most countries, when people are living in said nations, a thing that they weirdly don't appreciate is having their shit blown up. So for as many people who are like celebrating, there's 10 times more people who are like, well, that was up. I don't really like that too much. I hope that people fight back against that is usually the more common attitude, which is, of course, pretty understandable position to hold. They've moved on already. It's crazy.
There's actually destroyed some of the income.
Yeah. You can tell who stands to gain the most here by pummeling this coverage. You can tell which party benefits more from this kind of like potential escalation.
40,000 force. Of course, the head of U.S. Air Force's
CNN
Central
already
Command
in the Michigan rally.
That's based in Qatar, Jason.
So we have assets, we have the ability to communicate and provide intelligence in real time. Lucas, really do appreciate what you're doing and keeping your eyes on the ground. We're going to take a quick break. Lots happening there as Israel.
Donald Trump has been having phone conversations with Netanyahu every day this past week. He's like, come on. Just like think about how sick it would be. Tasnim news agency reports indicate that the situation is normal at Imam Khomeini International Airport and Mehrabad Airport. Like, come on, just a strike, just a little bit. By the way, this is what I'm talking about.
They called me the day before. We have a very good relationship. And I have to say fortunately, they didn't listen to Biden, because if they listened to Biden, they'd right now be waiting for a bomb to drop on them. And they did their own work. They did not.
Like, what's happening here, dude? Are you doing a parallel government thing? Like, you're not president yet. Why is he flexing that he's constantly talking to Benjamin Netanyahu and giving him the go-ahead? I just don't really understand how this works. I do remember, however, the Supreme Court of the United States giving the presidential office enormous powers and enormous leverage in terms of prosecution. So I don't know. Maybe you could use that, Joseph Robinette Brandon. Who knows? I'm just saying, considering that the Supreme Court gave you a gift and you're going to be a lame duck regardless, use it. Use it, dude. If you don't use it, you lose it. Scoop. Donald Trump signals support in a call with Netanyahu as he waged strike on Iran. Do what you have to do, Trump offered Bibi, his backing in wars with Hamas and Hezbollah, even as his campaign seeks Arab American voters. Trump told Benjamin Netanyahu in one call earlier this month, do what you have to do, according to 6 people familiar with the conversation who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive and confidential information. Trump has said publicly that the two have spoken at least twice in October, with one as recently as October 19th. He didn't tell him what to do militarily, but he expresses that he was impressed by the pager, said Senator Lindsey Graham. Oh, God, I hate him so much. That's another scumbag that I despise so much, from the bottom of my heart. Oh, no, you don't understand. This was not a violation of the Logan Act. Listen, am Israel high, okay? I'm Senator Lee. Israel has a right to defend itself, and Donald Trump has a right to defend Israel. He doesn't mean it. When he says he's in direct violation rules that were set long before him that declare what he is doing to be illegal. What he is openly revealing as a direct violation of U.S. law is actually not a violation at all. Israel has a right to defend itself. Also, you can have a conversation. Who amongst us has not had a conversation with Israel? I myself have a conversation with Israel every day. Okay? There is no foreign interference here. Am Israel high? Yeah, he was on the call with Trump and Netanyahu referring to the Israeli operation that killed Hezbollah leaders with explosive batteries inside pagers. He expressed his awe for their military operations and what they've done. Yeah. Donald Trump routinely being like, the law, I don't give a shit. You can suck me. I got impeached for this one time. Nothing happened. Like, literally, I'll get impeached again. What are you going to do? If you try to impeach me again, guess what? That means I won the presidency, okay? Win-win, baby. Doesn't even matter. We have no laws, dude. We have no interest in following the law. Leahy law, what is that? Throw it in the trash. I wipe my ass with it, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Are we giving unrestricted, unlimited weapons to a country that is a serial violator of human rights? Who cares? That's what's going on here. Yeah, laws are for punishing college campus protesters. Exactly.
Listen, they couldn't listen because what he was asking. In fact, just the other day, they said to him, are you okay with what they're doing? Well, I don't want them to attack the nuclear, and I don't want them to attack the oil. I said, really? That's sort of the opposite. If you go, BB called.
Yeah, Donald Trump's been saying like Israel should hit oil refineries. He's like, he does not give a. He's like, yeah, it'd be great. What do you mean? Biden is being a pussy. He won't let Israel hit oil refineries or nuclear facilities. Who cares if the petrodollar collapses? I'll be president. I'll fix it. I'll come back and I'll fix it. I'll nuke Iran. I'll nuke Iran. Mind you, Trump supporters' main complaint is gas prices. Yeah, dog. Right now, Joe Biden is president. Kamala Harris is vice president. He's not thinking ahead. I mean, he hasn't even thought ahead when he was doing any number of different things when he was president. So why the would he care when he's not president? For him, it's crazy. It's just like, oh, it's great. You know, this makes Joe Biden look like a fool. You know, it's great. I'll definitely win. Trump increasingly erratic on Tro with vulgarities and rambling. Okay, dude, that's not new.
Structure is on the current target list for the Israelis. Another official reiterating this idea of deterrence and how they are looking to send a message to the regime in Tehran. And all of this lets us basically come to the conclusion here, what we reported earlier, that the Israelis are not looking to drag the region into a broader war, but they are looking for the attacks against their country to stop. It's not just from Iranian territory, but also their proxies across the Middle East, their hostages that are still being held inside Gaza, and the threats not just against Israeli forces in the region, but also against U.S. forces. And that's part of the reason I'm told there was significant communication with the Americans leading up to these strikes that are currently taking place against Iran tonight. Israel is looking to give Iran an off-ramp in all of this, but they're also prepared for the possibility that Iran may respond, given the fact that the Israeli strikes are the most significant that we've seen so far. The response back in April just struck the air defense outside of one of Iran's nuclear facilities. It was looking to send a message that Israel has the over-the-horizon capabilities, the ability to strike deep in Iranian territory. Tonight's strikes, I'm told, are quite different. They are going after military targets, but with a lot of force, and they want to show the regime that they will continue to put pressure on Iran if attacks against Israel are ongoing. But all of this could certainly unravel, and that is part of the reason that you have seen the close coordination with the Americans from a defensive posture. It's part of the reason that you saw the delivery this week of the THAAD anti-ballistic missile system here to Israel, U.S. forces on the ground in this country to help Israel to shoot down any sort of incoming missiles that may come in response to this attack against Iran that is unfolding as we speak. Remember earlier this month when 180 ballistic missiles were launched from Iranian territory toward Israel, many of them slipped past Israel's missile defense systems. Now, some of that was by design. Israel looking to reserve as much of its missile interceptors for the Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 systems for the sensitive sites across this country, for the Air Force bases, for the nuclear facilities, for some of the more sensitive military sites near Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv, where we are reporting from right now. But they understand that this could be a long conflict. They may not take the off-ramp that is being offered to them. And I just want to give you some color here in Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city. Overhead, there is a civilian plane headed toward Ben Gurion Airport, Israel's international airport. So this is an indication that the airspace over Israel remains open. Now, earlier we saw an image of a flight radar app that showed nearly all of the civilian planes over Iran and over Iraq and over Syria have cleared the airspace because they understand that this Israeli attack against Iran is ongoing and they don't want to have commercial airliners in the skies over where Israeli jets will be flying. But the fact that the airspace over Israel remains open is a sign that there are no changes currently for the Home Front Command, Israel's military instructions to the civilian population. Oftentimes, these instructions will come all at once to warn people of an impending attack. But at this hour, we are told there are no special instructions for the Israeli population. I do want to just read you here a quick update from Israeli media. Again, Jason, we're getting all of this in real time. A few pieces of military infrastructure near the Iranian capital of Tehran were targeted. We do expect to get some more information. A local Iranian media agency, and this is coming from state media, says that the situation is normal at the country's largest international airport. And they say there has been no targeting of oil facilities. Again, we're just getting this information in real time, trying to gather what we can from both Iranian state media, from Israeli media, and of course our sources here on the ground in Tel Aviv. Jason?
Trey Yanks, thank you as always.
Al Mayadeen, correspondent in Tehran, says there is no targeting of Imam Khomeini Airport or oil facilities. In Netanyahu voice, everything is fine. Yeah.
What's happening?
Well, good to be with you, Jason. And yeah, I mean, this came as something of a surprise to a lot of us because Israel had, I think, quite masterfully signaled that after the U.S. intelligence leak over the weekend, they were going to need more time to prepare. A lot of folks were hearing November 1st as a potential strike time. But to go ahead and hit Iran tonight shows them that they have to be ready 24/7. I think, this will be.
What's really interesting is that this goes back to what I have said time and time again, which is that Israel only responds to force. Okay, in a matter where Israel only backs down when they are forced to. Now, there is perhaps no better demonstration of this reality than Israel doing a very limited strike, a very precise strike so far against Iran, after Iran literally penetrated their anti-missile defense systems. It's very interesting to think, and it's a lesson that they have taught every single regional actor, okay, time and time again. Think about the way that Israel retaliated to Iran the first time. Think about the way that Israel is retaliating to Iran now. Now imagine what Israel is doing to Hezbollah or Lebanon in general, Beirut in general, in retaliation against Hezbollah. What Israel is doing to Gaza. There is a severity gap in the way that Israel retaliates against people who are defenseless. Okay? If you are a sovereign nation with your own defense systems and with your own missile systems that have the capability of targeting Israel directly, then Israel doesn't respond with a magnitude more force specifically against your civilians. As a matter of fact, whenever Israel is hit by any of the regional actors, they actually increase the pressure and increase the pain on some of the most defenseless in the area, being obviously the area that they occupy as a belligerent occupier, Gaza. They only have one speed. And the only reason why Israel gets to do this is because America lets Israel do this. Make no mistake, okay? Make no mistake. America lets Israel do this.
They are firing upon Israel in response to this attack that's happening. But again, That may be premature. This is playing out in real time. We're just hearing and seeing the reports based on what's happening. We do also have this IDF statement that came out that was very strong, I thought, very much on point. You heard what the IDF said. What's your reaction to what their statement was?
Oh, no, they're 100% correct. This is entirely within Israel's purview to do this. Iran needs to be on notice that their actions will have retaliation, and that this is not, I mean, it is indeed about the October 1st ballistic missile attack, but it's about all the other attacks that are taking place on Israel. Yes, sir.
So, sorry to interrupt you, Victoria. We actually have the sound of the IDF spokesperson. Let's play that and then get your reaction to it.
Yeah. Daniel Hagari is going to tell you that at the top of the hour, there is a 3-minute ad break. It's a terror ad break. Avoid it at all costs by subscribing.
Have been relentlessly attacking Israel since October 7th on 7 fronts.
We just watched it already. What do you mean? You want me to watch it again?
Victoria, we got a lot of guests we're going to try to get in here. We're going to actually go to Christian Whitten, who's going to respond to this. We appreciate your perspective on what's happening now. Christian Whitten, a former State Department senior advisor in the Bush and Trump administration. You just heard the IDF. You see what's happening now. What's your response to what's happening in real time?
It's a good statement. I think it's right. It's amazingly constrained. I think it's actually remarkable that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not going after Iran's energy infrastructure. That would be an appropriate going away present to President Joe Biden, who frankly has not supported him terribly much throughout this year-long war that Israel has been in. He could have struck those energy sites within Iran that would have sent the price of oil skyward, which would have been the icing on the cake of what I think will be Vice President Kamala Harris's coming defeat in November. He's not doing that. Also not striking the nuclear sites, those sites associated with Iran's nuclear program. That's interesting. They telegraphed to us that they wouldn't touch those. In the last retaliation that Israel did against Iran's first big missile, UAV, etc. strike, when Israel retaliated, they actually hit the air defense systems at some of those nuclear sites. That was a signal to Iran that they could actually be hit next. And Israel has chosen not to do that. So this is a measured response to Iran's aggression.
What do you think the United States' role in this should be? What should the United States be saying and doing at this point to support Israel and its ability to defend itself?
What we ought to be doing, and what I think, if candidate Donald Trump said this when he ridiculed Joe Biden, because Biden said don't hit the Iranian nuclear sites, I think we ought to be encouraging Iran to hit the Iranian nuclear sites and to hit Iran's energy infrastructure, which is the way that regime has gotten so much cash to finance its export of terrorism throughout the region, to its wars against Israel, its political warfare in Lebanon and Yemen against our Gulf allies. The easing of oil sanctions by the Biden administration has given Iran free rein, essentially. It's gone from being on the back foot to being very aggressive throughout the region. So striking that energy infrastructure would make a difference.
All right, let's bring Victoria Coates back in there. Victoria, what's your response to that? Is that the right move at this point, and what the role should be for the United States of America?
What I would like to see is the United States actually saying nothing except we support Israel again in their war against Iran. I would like to
When have they said anything but that, you Heritage Foundation freak?
Not call a lid in Delaware, and just show that the United States is standing firmly with Israel and with the decisions they're making to defend their sovereignty. Otherwise, I think Christian covered it excellently.
Christian and Victoria, thank you so much. You would think that given the situation...
Oh, I missed it. He said Iran should strike nuclear sites, or Israel should strike nuclear sites, and he was sad oil facilities weren't struck, and now oil prices won't go up, which helps Kamala. That's awesome. These guys so very clearly demonstrate that they don't give a about anything, dude. They don't care about anything. It's crazy. Oh, here it is. Jesse Waters. All right, we're gonna move on from this unless there's some new updates. Okay, what the fuck is Ludwig doing there? That's crazy. Here's the official U.S. response. Initial U.S. response from NSC spokesperson: we understand that Israel is conducting targeted strikes against military targets in Iran as an exercise of self-defense and in response to Iran's ballistic missile attack against Israel on October 1st. We would refer you to the Israeli government for more information on their operation. Every time you leave, I know something unhinged will happen. Dean responded. He said, I agree with this. Liberals on this episode were generally all pretty intelligent. It was fun to film. X is censoring Iranian media. Iran is broadcasting. There are no strikes which hit Tehran. That was old footage. The air defense systems took it out. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think that's the case, big dog. Like, I suspect that there was, we will see. I don't think that there's nothing that got struck. I think that it was looking like the strikes didn't go according to plan. Wait, what? What do you mean? It seems like the Iranian state media disagrees with you. Iran successfully intercepted several Israeli missiles. Most reports from inside Iran indicate that the strikes were very limited. There are also reports that Iran successfully intercepted. I mean, regardless, like they still, you know, they still hit a bunch of targets. The point is that they didn't hit targets that were, you know, that would have been worthy of a severe escalation in terms of retaliation.